Hello, I'm Toycat, and this is my long-term survival world that I've been playing on since 2012. But this is that same long-term survival world with vibrant visuals turned on. As you can see, it's amazing. It's astonishing, but it does ask the big question of whether you'd want to actually have this on your long-term world. Sure, it looks great at first, but it's going to change how everything looks, and so is that good for your existing builds? Well, this is something I love to test, and so I'm going to be going to 15 key locations from around my Let's Play world, and we're going to see what they look like before and after to see if there are actually any negative effects from all of these changes to reflections, to shadows, to lighting, and even the way that different biomes are lit. And so let's get started with the first and easiest, because I'm right here at my 00 monument. This is something I think every world should have. It's a great way to mark where things start going north or south or east or west, and what's great about it is the fact that it has this beacon in the middle, and that beacon will be visible from further away now, which is kind of cool. But also cool is the fact that you'll actually see the shadows of this place kind of work like a sundial now too. Having these blocks in the sky means that I can actually see where the sun is without looking up to see it. I can look down instead. However, this does have a downside if you have, say, a giant floating rail, because the shadow of that rail might actually end up impacting your other builds. So for example, I've got this giant map of my world, 225 fully filled out maps. I really love looking at it. It's a cool look at how my world is. However, it has the downside, so it's going to look exactly the same. The maps are identical now than they were before, whether we poke them out or not in our hands or not. The color palette might change very slightly, but the maps themselves will be the same. But now you have to consider, when making a giant map wall or map floor, exactly how the sun is going to light it, because eventually you can see that shadow is going to cover it. Indeed, I think a crazier example of this, and also by the way, eventually, the sun can end up on the wrong side of it, meaning that it actually looks really poorly lit. And in case that seems like not that big of a deal, allow me to show you the Death Star. This is a semicircle I built out of stone over the course of many years. It's a real pain to try and build them perfectly, but I did precisely that, and then because it made a big dark spot, I covered the ground underneath it in torches. However, as you can see, those torches no longer light it up perfectly, because Vibrant Visuals has a new rule, which is that the sun is always so much brighter than any artificial source, meaning that underneath the Death Star there is this permanent dark patch. Oh, my controller has died. There is this permanent dark patch underneath the Death Star, which is just not going to be there, which was not there before, and which is always going to be there no matter what you do. Place as many torches as you like, and it's just not going to have anywhere near the same effect as the actual sun, and that's something you might want to actually keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind that I think is more of a benefit than a downside, though, is the fact that you can see, just like here with my Neverwalk farm, reflections can actually add a lot to a build, and so where you make a build might really be important now. And to best prove that, let's look back at the Death Star from over here. As you can see, it actually might be tricky to get a good angle for it, but as you can see, the Death Star is visible in the water there. Kind of intimidating if you pay attention to it, but I think what's really cool is that some builds are massively improved by this, such as these, my birch and mangrove towers for the birch boat thing. You can see that it looks like there's boats in the water, and it really makes it look just a little bit more artistic. I like that a lot personally, but what I don't like is a downside that many worlds will have. If you, like me, have a world with a lot of different sized biomes, or maybe you've overwritten a biome entirely, such as this swamp biome for example, I'm going to show you an old style build, and I'm going to show you some downsides to it. So, unlike my my Death Star, and unlike my world monument, which were built in the last, 8 years or so, which might as well be modern Minecraft, the Bank of Toycat was built in 2013, if I'm not mistaken, making it a 12-year-old build, and yeah, it shows, but immediately you'll spot two things, one of which is that the inside is just not as lit as the outside. This isn't just a torch issue, I literally have the brightest light source in Minecraft, the jack-o'-lantern, and it looks spooky dark in here, like I'm going for a horror house vibe. This is just a vibrant visual problem that you're going to have to notice and you're going to have to deal with, so this is something that I want to mention right here at first, but then I also want to mention the fact that because we're in a swamp biome, everything has this slight green tint to it, which might not be ideal for a big regal bank. Anyway, the other interesting thing about this that you probably haven't spotted, but I spotted immediately, is the fact that when we go into these vaults back here, yes, I have one of these update blocks still, you can see the back of the vaults are weirdly better lit than the front. It almost looks like there's light coming in from the outside here. There's not. That is, there's real normal blocks all the way down, so that's not where it's coming from, but the light is coming from the ceiling, and so you would logically assume that I have a big skylight here, But no, actually, that's not the case at all. So how is it then that I am in the bank roof covered entirely by blocks, and there's so much more light in here than there is down there? It can't all be coming from this single window. No, it's not. It's coming from these stairs. There is a lighting bug in Minecraft that if you use stairs or slabs, light can still pass through it, and it means that even though there is no sun access through here, I can still see the world as if there was. It is worth noting Minecraft does then differentiate. If we then break some of these blocks and let the sun in, you can see that it is still going to have shadows in a different way. So it's not, some of the lighting bugs have been kind of incorporated into it, but it's still very strange that what you build your materials out of will really impact how much light gets inside of your buildings in a way that's more drastic than it was before, in my opinion. Anyway, let's leave the bank vault now. I've got this handy escape route for me, and oh wow, look at my redstone bed. It is so lit. But let's show you my first ever house that I built, which I built, I guess, excluding my cave house. Living in a cave is very normal, by the way, but let me show you my house with this lovely reflection from the water, and you can just immediately see that, yeah, things are different here, because again, to mention it a second time, beacons will now be visible from across your Minecraft world. That is the beacon from the 00 monument. I'm now 234 blocks away. I can still see it. This isn't a vibrant visuals change, but it is occurring at the exact same time, so beacons will now actually be useful. I'm amazed they finally did it. I'm so happy with that. But similarly, I need to talk about what I'm happy with regards to the house, because my house has a, I guess this would be a west-facing aspect. Wait, if that's north, yeah, I've got a west-facing aspect, which means that if I come into my house during the sunset, it's going to be really, really lit in here in a way that it wasn't previously. You can see up, oh, actually, you can see it kind of a little bit up here, and this is a really nice little change that means that the house, because it's facing east and west, will get light during the mornings and the evenings, but maybe not otherwise. This is going to be a huge change to how you want to make new builds, and if you made your house and happen to put the windows north instead, you idiot, then you're going to get less light. That is something you can't have controlled because it was in the past, but it is something that will affect your world. Let's go to sleep though, and let's see how different the house looks in the morning, because we should be able to see it in both views right now. So yeah, as you can see, the light is coming in through this window, making this funny little patch that should slowly change throughout the day. I like that a lot. I think it should be worth saying. Anyway, let's now go up onto the roof, and you can see that redstone bed. It's so ridiculously vibrant. You know, these visuals sure do be vibrant, huh? But more seriously, I think if we slide over here, I can show you one of my favorite builds from this world, because I have a stronghold that generated quite close to my base. I'm quite lucky in that way, but I always wanted it to have a surface entrance, and so I replicated Jeb's OG stronghold, the one that he made before ever releasing it into the game, and I replicated it from the only image that exists, which is kind of fun, and now you can see that such an old build, one that literally predates this Minecraft world, actually looks really cool with vibrant visuals, but even cooler in my opinion, because in this exact same spot is where I did one of my first ever just dumb projects. I wanted to destroy an entire Minecraft chunk. I actually enjoyed it so much that I enjoyed a second Minecraft chunk next to it, and weirdly enough, you can see that even a project as simple as a whole actually looks good. It's a bit dark in there, but honestly that adds to the vibe of the whole, and so I'm going to have to say that even though there are some negatives of vibrant visuals, some builds, if they're literally just the hole in the ground, get better in every single way, and I just love that. I think it's amazing that things like this can change. But yeah, let's now move on to the sixth build. It's a little bit further away, so I'll give you the magic of time travel. Or is it distance travel? I mean, distance travel isn't magic, but time travel certainly is. Yeah, look at that. We're in the future now, and in the future, I can show you one of my favorite projects, which I'm still working away at. This is my giant console edition size Nether, and from the outside, it looks kind of normal, but I wanted to actually show you it from out here, because here is my recycled end city that I turned into a giant end city, and then also an end desert temple and an end ship. They all look really nice, even through the spyglass and even from a distance. And that's the truth. A lot of builds you are only ever going to appreciate from a distance, or maybe they're even designed to be appreciated that way, and it's really, really cool to see. I think you start to get some weird artifacts at a certain distance, but as long as you stay a comfortable distance away, you can appreciate it. Speaking of being, speaking of being comfortable, let me show you what that console edition size Nether looks like. I was really lucky in that a lot of it is built in a desert biome, and so this extra warmth that you get is a huge bonus over how it was before. I really like the extra boost that this gets. And so this is an example of the fact, it almost seems like I'm being negative as I'm just giving you the real truth of the builds as I go through them, but this is one that is actively enhanced by the fact that it's in a desert biome, and so that's something to consider too. If you're in the right biomes for the right builds, now there are all sorts of benefits that can be gained from it, and I love the way that Netherrack looks in a desert. And again, I never thought I would start a sentence with I love the way that Netherrack looks, but despite it, there I am anyway. Next up here, we've got the Statue of Libertoy. That's its official name. So yeah, again, similarly to how that the Nether is built from a recycled Nether fortress, this was built from a recycled trial chamber. The plan is to slowly build more things around it. I'm looking forward to that. But as you can see, it gets a real nice glow up because copper has, I believe it's called MERS, has some real nice reflective tendencies to it that you can really start to see over here. Also, we've got these sheep in front of it that I used for the wool to make the fire on the torch there. And I've got to say, sheep look really good in the sun. I know I'm starting to sound a bit Welsh here, but man, these are some really pretty sheep. Speaking of really pretty sheep, let's now fly over to another build that I haven't shown off in a while. I'll be honest, it's one that I just remember literally it's like 1 AM, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that build. Did I finish it? And the answer is technically yes. So yeah, I built this using some of my recycled bastion. Honestly, the recycled bastion, I enjoyed destroying it, but I didn't enjoy building out of it, so I made this and called it a day. But this is a fun example of how because I built a very fiery, nethery structure in the ice, it does ruin the vibe on some level, you could argue, but I actually think it really adds to it in a fun way. So I would say that this is an example of the same thing. Like, being in the right biome can now be a good choice, but it's a choice that's being made for you for all your past builds, and that's something you should keep in mind. Okay, so now if we do a little bit more flying, you can see just over the top here. So I use these glowstone to guide me towards my woodland mansion. Man, I just realized this entire part of my world, I'm just like, oh yeah, so I recycled a nether fortress, looks pretty decent. I recycled a trial chamber, and I recycled a, I recycled a bastion that I destroyed. I love destroying structures, and I feel like I should do things out of the blocks. And one of my favorite examples of that is found just over this hill, because you might remember this as my first wide-scale, my first large-scale destruction. So I want to point out something, actually. Before we talk about this beautiful structure, there's nothing negative you can say about it. Flying here, because it is a console edition size world, and I know a lot of you will have started your worlds on console too, if you have small biomes, it really is distracting. A current size Minecraft biome that maybe can cover 500 blocks, I think it's reasonable to have the biome transitions be that stark, but just to show you this fly again, this is the official way that I get to and from this. It goes warm, swampy, neutral, and then we're back to, cold in a second. I don't like that. So again, I know that flying is a very privileged way to get around real world and Minecraft, but I think that it's really important to mention that, like, yeah, that is a negative downside that could also affect a blue ice boat if you have one. I do, or indeed a minecart or something too. Anyway, so yeah, I really like the way this looks. I think it's great, and I think that this is probably a build that would really benefit from day and night too. Because even though I have north and south facing windows, I have so many east and west facing ones too. And so as the sun is at the right point in the sky, which it isn't right now, so never mind on that point, I guess. But if the sun is at the right point in the sky, you should get some real nice views from the side here, which is cool. Wait, did I lose one of my glass pieces? Ah, that sucks. I'm not going to go pick that up. But instead I'm going to go show you my TU31 village, which, because I built it in an update which changed the world, I built it in a brand new at the time savanna biome, and so that means that this should have a slight tint to it, which means I want to show it to you at night. It is a well-lit village, and you can see, again, I think it's the redstone block that's the real star of the show here. Redstone blocks look so cool now versus before. However, yeah, you'll see that, oh, yeah, that is a dramatic shift. Even at night, the place just feels warmer, and that does have a huge impact on things. But yeah, it means that biome borders are now really notable. And so if you have the same build but it's split between two biomes, there's going to be this weird artificial line that is created. Something important to note. Another build that I'm expecting to be an interesting example of this would actually be the Blue Ice Islands. So I made these just kind of as a fun project that I wanted to do way out here at the edge of my world. So you're welcome for the distance travel again. I mean, is it time travel and distance travel? Doesn't all time and distance come related? But what's interesting about this is you can see that I built it right next to a desert, but also over an ocean. And so from here it looks kind of nice. It's fun that you can actually see the sun reflection better than you can see the sun here. But you can see that it has got a hugely different vibe. And I think that this is a vibe that would have been improved if it were in an icy biome. I'm just now locked into the fact that these places look incredibly warm. And so I think it'd look even more warm if I flew into the desert next to it. So let's come down here, and then, oh yeah, you can see it's got a hugely different vibe. I don't hate it, but it wasn't what I was going for. And now, if I have vibrant visuals turned on, I'm locked into this forever. And again, how often do I really see this is a question that is worth answering, to be fair. But it is a question that I have to really consider. And that makes me actually wonder about my Nether alternative to this. Oh, I do not like the way going to the Nether looks. Oh, but I do like the way the frozen Nether looks. I do think, again, though, there is a slight realization that doing the biome tints by biome is great for a fresh, brand new world. But on an existing one, it'd be nice if you could maybe take the average of all of the blocks around you and use that instead, because it'd be cool if this frozen Nether had a nice blue tint to it that I currently just cannot get. Okay, I'm gonna run away from this, and I'm gonna run back to the other part of my world, because I've still got some things I'd love to show you, such as my Enchanted Valley, which I honestly really love as a build. It's one of my favorite ones, and I remember when RTX came out thinking, oh yes, this is the magic spot. However, I have to say, Vibrant Visuals does create huge shadows that kind of cast a huge negative on this place. Do you like my enchantment table tree, by the way? I have to point that out because it takes a lot of work to make one of those. But yeah, you can see that this is a really magical place that is kind of less magical in Vibrant Visuals. The diamond blocks look really good here, you could argue. But otherwise, I would argue that this is actually not massively improved. And so now there's the big question of the cave house. This is a big indoor, kind of dark space where maybe I like the idea of it being darker. But is that actually what's going to occur? No, yeah, you can see that having glass to the outside represents this huge breaking of, not immersion, but it makes it look like not quite a cave. Maybe in a good way, maybe in not so great a way. You can also see, though, that the skylights that I have, instead of just allowing light in from the outside world, they actually allow this kind of, like, vision of what time is out there. I think that actually is quite fun. If you have a cave house, you could maybe make one of these with a wider angle and use it to mark what time of day it is. I can see that it's more or less midday right now, if I had to guess correctly. Yeah, probably a little bit past midday, and it's cool that I can see that, by the way. So yeah, let's, by the way, I've got the, this is another way I can see if it's light outside. If it looks light there, then it's great. If it looks dark there, then clearly not. Actually, I could probably hook up like a daylight sensor and some redstone lamps and actually have that effect. I'm not going to, though. Anyway, what I am going to do is look outside here. And yeah, again, because I've got this big mountain, there's just this big area of darkness, which maybe you'll get used to. But it is a downside. It is a real change. Because right now, you know, like standing in this darkness looking at my house is gonna be an entirely different vibe to what it looked like before. I also think that something you might not have immediately spotted, because it looks so close to transparent, is water, which goes from this beautiful bright blue. You know, I guess blight means British, right? Blighty. And therefore, as a result, I am correct in saying that word. I didn't misspeak. But yeah, as you can see right here, we've got this wonderful blue that just isn't visible before. I think another great example of that is probably the insane sugarcane farm. Look at that now, and then look at it with vibrant visuals, and yeah, you can see that some of the character has gone missing. There's this weird thing where I would say that objectively this is the better way to look at the sugarcane farm. I mean, that's probably how water would actually look. But I think there are some ways that you can objectively improve things and still make them worse. And Minecraft is a great example of that. I think the pig texture, or the cow texture, I'm sorry by the way, is objectively better than the sniffer one, or the turtle, despite the fact that those last two ones are, you know, like more detailed and more artistic. Sometimes you can add to something and still remove from it. And it's counterintuitive, but it is true. So the next thing I'd like to show you, I mean, actually, you know, I said I'd show 15 things, but as I look around my world, I just want to look at more and more things. So look at my, this is my Nether portal. I wasn't quite sure how much obsidian you needed to build one. I wasn't sure if it was, meant to be 12 or 1200. So I just went on the safe side and built it to this size. But this is my nether portal, and you can see that it's got quite a different look. But also you can see the clouds through it in a weird way that is different to before. By the way, the sun is setting, and my netherrack cubes, so all of my cubes are causing me very slight problems in that exact same way that again, I'm not saying it isn't necessarily a problem, but it is a change to get used to. Oh, look at that. See, that's a change I would love. Look at the sun reflecting in the sugarcane farm. It looks so beautiful. Anyway, let's go to bed, and let's show you one of my favorite little... Actually, no, we don't need to go to bed, because I'm going into a cave. So if you've never seen my elytra tunnel, this is one of the most ridiculous builds. I just realized I say elytra now. I think I used to say elytra. How about I meet in the middle and I say elytra? And so down the elytra tunnel, you can see that this is one of the highest effort builds I put into for something that seems really cool and useful, but then just isn't quite. So it's really, really cool to fly through, and you can see that this actually is an example of a tunnel being well lit. I don't know why that is, but you can see that maybe, inside isn't always worse, and caves seem to have a particular solution to lighting. This is why I don't use it very often. You still have to use fireworks, and so despite digging all these blocks, I think I'd have been better off literally just not doing that. Although it looks like I can now take advantage of the layers below 0. I could make this great, maybe. But I cut my losses on it. Like you should do, if you're wondering, how is it that an old Minecraft village looks? Not old as in like, oh, it's from 2019. No, what if you have a village that comes all the way from the good old days of 2014? I mean, technically on Java, I think, the update that changed, I guess 2015 it must be. So this is my Savannah village. I can't say the word that comes before it, but it's my F *** village. It makes it sound like I'm talking about something else. But you know, that's for the best. That's a less demonetizable word than what it actually is. And as you can see, it looks kind of nice here at night. I think having the emerald blocks and having a few other shiny things will really help. But let's see what it looks like in the day. So let's come into this place. As you can see, I used this. Back in the day, I was a big believer that mending was stupid. That no. Everyone's using mending, and so the cool thing to do is to get yourself as many enchanted pickaxes as you can. I've moved most of them to my armory now. And then every time your pickaxe breaks, just repair it. And then that way you don't need to have mending. But as you can see, I eventually gave in, and so this village is no longer needed. Besides for crops and stuff. Anyway, a creeper might have exploded in the midst of all the villagers and caused some problems. But you can see that in the morning, this place doesn't actually look that much better. But it is still kind of nice. I like the sun rising over it. I think when most of the place is covered in a mild shadow, it does look pretty good. It's only when there's a noticeable shadow spot that things get bad. But yeah, this is my home, I guess. But speaking of my home, I've got just 2 more things I'd like to show you. Oh, okay. I was flying, and I just want to point that out again. This is what I'm talking about. So I use the elytra as the main way of getting around a world. I think, again, outside of really efficient nether systems, this is the best way. And even then, this works best. It's like, I don't know, like a train is the best way to get people from point A to point B. But if you need to get to point A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and there's not a train between each of those points from each of those points, then it can be more efficient to drive. I feel like elytra flying is like that. But, you know, let's not get into transport infrastructure. Let's instead show you my last 2 projects that I'd like to. This is my Destroyed Ocean Monument. It's one of my first big mega projects in this world. And as you can see, I think it's better. I think it's just objectively better. What do you think? And, yeah, I think I might have gone over 15, but I'm going to still show you my horse stable and my horse speedometer, because I think this is a very classic Minecraft build. But I also think it's a classic Minecraft build that could maybe be best improved. I don't know that that's true, actually. I think it looks weird here. I think, weirdly, the Ocean Monument looked great, and this looks a little bit strange. And so a little bit strange is where I'm going to finish this up. So now that we've seen a bunch of my major builds, probably the majority of my big ones that I'm most proud of, I think it's now important to say, is this a good set of changes overall? Or is this something I'm still cautious of, still skeptical about, still wondering whether I should use? And the real answer to that question is, well, no. I think that this is something that can't be easily described as a good or a bad change. I love vibrant visuals, and on a new world, if you have a supported device, it's more or less a no-brainer, but on an existing world, you have a lot of trade-offs to consider, and because of those trade-offs, I don't think I'll be using it on day one, besides for the fun gimmick of it is here now. And so, yeah, I would say that Vibrant Visuals is great, and it's got it's objectively, it's the new default way to play Minecraft, and eventually it will seem silly that you ever weren't using it. But for now, I would still say I'm on the fence. Wait, for now, I would still say, as far as my opinion about it goes, I'm just the tiniest bit on the okay, if I had to describe my opinion very briefly, I would say I'm on the fence. With that, which means I'm floating in midair, confusingly, because my hit block, my hitbox is wider than my regular box, which is a good thing, but it's a confusing thing, just like Vibrant Visuals. There we go, I rounded it out. With that said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope it's been useful for you to decide for your worlds. As always, draw your own conclusions. If you hate everything you've seen, or if you love everything you've seen, now you know what it will look like in your world, and you can make that decision a little bit easier for yourself. But yeah, I'm gonna say that I hope you all enjoyed, and I'd also say I hope you like my big potion frame, and that I hope to see you in the next video, because that's how you can learn more about Vibrant Visuals and all that stuff. Anyway, I've been IBXToyCat. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.